Hello and welcome back to the Damon Rowan podcast. I'm Damon Rowan and this week I'm going to be talking about supplements. But just before I get into talking about supplements, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's listened to the podcast so far and supported it. I'm 11 episodes in now and I didn't know if I'd get this far, to be honest. It's kind of a tricky one when you're starting out and experimenting in kind of new ways of just kind of getting information out and hopefully helping people, and that was my goal initially. And in the feedback that I've gotten, I know I've done that with some people and I'm hugely appreciative of just getting the support that I've gotten to continue making podcasts, people sending in feedback, sending in their own questions that they'd like me to answer, giving me ideas for podcasts. And it's just really enjoyable experience, so I'll keep doing it, and thanks again for just supporting it. So yeah, hugely appreciative of that, and I'm going to get started into the podcast now. So getting into supplements, I'd like to mention that first of all, I'm not an expert in the field of supplements that knows exactly what all supplements do and don't do, and the exact science behind them all. However, with that said, I do have a good understanding of some of the more popular supplements and what ones I've tried. I have ones that have been tried and tested themselves and proven to work fairly well for most people. And the goal of this podcast is hopefully to highlight how certain supplements can help in boosting your health, your fitness, your performance, and hopefully I'll be able to save you some money in buying the supplements that have proven benefits, while also pointing out some supplements that maybe have little to no benefit that likely aren't worth spending your money on. So as you may already know, the supplement industry harbours a lot of bullshit in giving out false information and false advertising. Now there's many reasons for this, but I believe one of the main ones is because it's so closely connected to the fitness industry, and they can get by and make profit off of people who are they're just not as educated maybe and don't have a great understanding of what it takes to achieve a certain fitness or body composition goal. And for example, say like the person that buys into maybe a famous person or influencer who's maybe selling a plan to maybe get 6-pack abs in 2 weeks, that same person is likely going to fall for the quote unquote miracle supplements that influencer or brand is pushing too. Now again, this is basic advertising in that they're trying to squeeze their money's worth out of you with buying the plan or the stack of supplements, as they get commission off it and you're using their discount code or link or whatever method they use. And once they have you sold on the idea and products, they really couldn't care less if supplements actually work or not, as they've already made their money. Now, I've gotten caught in this marketing trap myself before when I was only starting out, and I've mentioned of how I used to have maybe a stack of supplements that it wasn't out of the ordinary for me to be taking like 5 or 6 more different supplements a day, as I believed, like hand on heart, these supplements were going to make me big, strong, and get me results faster and the like. And I'm sure some of you listening have either done the same or know someone like myself who got caught up in believing supplements are going to do the work for them. But nevertheless, as I've been in the fitness industry for a while now, I've obviously grown more competent and gained an understanding into what works and what doesn't. And as it's part of my job to help people reach their fitness goals in a safe, healthy, and sustainable way, I feel it's necessary to make this podcast to hopefully help others in wading through that same bullshit being pushed all the time in this industry, and hopefully save yourself time, money, and energy by learning a couple of the things I've learned myself, while saving you the time it took me to learn these things. So one more thing that I'm just going to touch on before going into the actual supplements part of this podcast is that I'm going to mention that they're exactly that. Supplements are designed to supplement the hard work that you're already putting in having your diet and nutrition in check and implementing a proper fitness training plan suited to you, and that you stick to keeping both of them to a good standard consistently, and then the supplements can come in after. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because it can be quite confusing when you're buying supplements because of the marketing and advertising style, and if you just don't have that education behind you, they can basically make it sound like it's like, you know, if you take this certain brand supplement, it'll have so many benefits that the work's practically done for you, like it does this, it does that, muscle gains, fat loss, the like. But of course that's not the case, as if it was that easy, we'd all be in great shape from popping different supplements and the like without doing actually any work. So if you want to go and buying supplements thinking they'll do most of the work for you, you will be disappointed. And I think the best way of looking at supplements is thinking of maybe a pyramid, with the pyramid's foundational layers consisting of your diet, your training, your recovery and sleep, consistence, patience. And then once you accounted for all the major things that are going to get you 90% of the way, supplements are kind of a way of topping it all off, in that they're going to give you that extra boost once all the other things are right and they're in place. So thinking of it practically, if you're not giving your body good foods already that support your health and fitness goals, along with training your body enough that you're stimulating the muscles enough to change, then, you know, if you're not doing that, then adding in a supplement isn't going to work miracles in fixing all of that. So you kind of have to have all the foundationals right before moving on to the supplements. And with all that said, without further delay, I'll get talking about the most popular supplements, what ones to look for, what ones to avoid, and how they can either help or hinder your performance and health. So the first supplement I'm going to talk about is protein powder, and talking about what protein powder supplement is, it's basically a way of supplementing the macronutrient protein. Now, as I mentioned in previous podcasts, protein is the building blocks for your muscles, so protein is going to repair, maintain and build new muscle in your body as it provides the materials needed for that. So keeping on top of your protein intake, especially when you're looking to achieve a certain fitness or body composition goal, is going to be crucial. And the reason many people supplement protein powder is because it's often difficult to maybe keep on top of your protein intake, as you're usually meant to have in or around 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight every day, as a good rule of thumb in relation to maintaining and building new muscle. So to take me for example, I weigh in around 70 kilos, and that's around 155 pounds. So each day I'm going to need about 150 grams of protein, and say if I were to solely rely on meat for that protein, there's say for an example, there's usually about 25 to 30 grams of protein in a chicken breast. So that'd be 6 chicken breasts every day. Now ideally most people wouldn't be eating 6 chicken breasts a day or that equivalent of protein in any meat each day, because it can be quite difficult to keep on top of that, especially if you're vegan or vegetarian, you wouldn't be having any meat at all. So this is where having your protein shake can be handy, in that it's quick and easy to prepare and consume, and it helps you keep on top of your protein intake a lot easier. So with that said, I'm also going to mention that you shouldn't become overly reliant on protein powder as your only source of protein. And the reason I say that is people can kind of forget about the other sources when they have a handy, protein shake. It's easy to consume and you can get your protein intake out of the way. But my advice is to try and mix it up and get your protein in daily without protein powder first and see how you do. And then you can supplement the protein powder in where you see it's necessary after that. Now, next, discussing the different types of protein powders available. The main ones I'll be discussing is whey protein and vegan forms of protein like rice protein or pea protein. So first off is your whey protein, and that's a protein derived from dairy, and the two types of whey protein is your whey protein concentrate and whey protein isolate. So whey protein concentrate is kind of less refined than isolate in that it doesn't go through as much processing, whereas with whey isolate, the processing isolates the protein itself from other molecules like your carbs, fats, and probably the most noticeable is your lactase. So lactase is the sugar found in milk and dairy products, and if you're lactose intolerant, you can't break that down, and that might cause IBS or upset stomach or anything like that. So if you're lactose intolerant, it'd probably be whey isolate to go for. And aside from whey protein, if you don't want a protein source from animals, there is vegan protein, and this can come in the form of maybe pea protein or rice protein, or there's other versions as well. However, it's worth mentioning that vegan forms of protein aren't as effective as animal source protein powders, and this is because they don't have a full or as full of an amino acid profile, in that they are missing the amino acid leucine. So leucine is important for the maintenance and repairs of muscle in the body, and if you're missing out that in your vegan proteins, you obviously won't be receiving the benefits of it. So that said, it's not to say vegan proteins are useless. I'm not saying that at all, as protein still acts quite effectively and you can still yield good results from it. So I'm not knocking vegan protein, I'm just simply pointing out that it has an inferior amino acid profile, which is worth mentioning. So to conclude on protein powder is to decide whether or not it's worth your money. So as I said, if you train with weights or you're regularly doing resistance training and you're stressing your muscles 3, 4, maybe more times a week like that, if you struggle to keep up with your protein intake, then it may be worth looking into getting a protein powder supplement. And as for what brand, that's really up to you. A lot of them are good. I personally use Optimum Nutrition's whey protein, as I find it very good. However, if you don't want to get that one or get one that costs as much as that, there are cheaper alternatives in My Protein. They do very reasonably priced, good quality protein, and of other brands that I've tried too, but I find either Optimum Nutrition or My Protein to be the best in what you're paying for them, and both brands offer a fair wide range of flavours, so you won't be stuck for choice in that way either in finding one that you like. And the next supplement that I want to move on to is caffeine. So I've mentioned caffeine before in the podcast, on my podcast episode on fat loss. If you want to have a listen to that, I've also mentioned other supplements that will help with fat loss. However, in general, caffeine is one of the most widely consumed supplements in the world, as you probably already know. It's in teas, coffees, energy drinks, and can come up in supplement forms too, in pill or powder forms, and even in other supplements like pre-workout. And what caffeine essentially does is it makes you more alert by reducing tiredness. So this can translate into a number of different benefits in terms of improving your performance, which can obviously be helpful in giving you that boost of energy and through days that you don't feel like you have the energy for. Some things like maybe exercising and training, especially helpful on days when you feel that lull in energy. And it also gives you kind of a cognitive boost, which can improve your thinking, your memory, focus, and other cognitive related tasks. And I've also mentioned it has benefits for fat loss in my podcast on fat loss, and how caffeine does this is it assists in weight loss and fat loss through promoting appetite suppression and making you feel less hungry, and obviously you're more energetic, so you're going to be moving around more or doing more things and you'll be more active. And all these benefits obviously can be helpful, but it's also important to recognize, don't become too dependent on caffeine, because some people can rely too much on caffeine to keep them feeling energized without eating a lot throughout the day. And this can obviously create an unhealthy relationship with food, in that you'll lose weight and fat, yes, but at the cost of lacking proper nutrition and possible fatigue and adrenal fatigue from an overuse of caffeine. So try to use caffeine kind of as a useful part of your diet, and like that's a tool that can be used as opposed to relying on it as your main source of energy and results. And the next supplement I want to cover is creatine. So the reason I've included creatine is it's probably the most well-researched supplement on the market with proven benefits. So it has the science and studies to back it up as an effective supplement, and depending on your goals, it might be a supplement for you. So what creatine essentially does is it improves your strength and power output during weights or resistance training, especially during short bursts of exertion. So it does this by loading your cells with water, and they're obviously more reinforced then, and by providing them that and with more energy to fire during short intense bursts of exercise. Some studies have shown an increase of 26% in the power output during those exercises. So putting that into perspective, if you were doing an exercise with a set of maybe 10 reps and you're struggling to get through those last few reps on each set, supplementing creatine is going to help in assisting you towards giving you the extra energy to power through those last few reps on each time. And this supplement is especially useful if you're doing resistance training regularly and looking to increase your muscle strength and size. Now, to go into the side effects and some misconceptions people have about creatine, first off, many people say creatine helps with increasing your muscle size, like it increases your muscle size straight off the bat. And this is not necessarily true, in that taking in creatine is going to saturate your cells with water. So what that can look like physically, in that your muscles are obviously going to be more, they're going to be holding more water, so they're going to be that bit more puffed up as a result. However, the muscle mass itself hasn't actually changed. That's only going to be off straining the muscle in doing the exercises. So when you deload off creatine, that pumped up look is likely going to go away. But another misconception that people have is that creatine can give you stomach and bladder issues along with nausea and diarrhea, and there's no real scientific evidence to back that, obviously if it's being taken correctly. So what this is usually caused by is a lack of water intake alongside creatine. So as I mentioned, creatine pulls water under the cells, and your cells of course would need that water to do that. So when you're taking creatine, it's always a good idea to up your water intake to allow for that to happen. And if you don't do that and keep on top of your water intake, then you may get some of those unwanted side effects. So as for what creatine to take and how much, there's loads of different types of creatine supplements on the market, different types, different kinds, creatine monohydrate, creatine ethyl ester, the list goes on. But the most reliable are the creatine monohydrate and creatine ethyl ester. So it doesn't matter what brand, but MyProtein is held to a very high quality and is fairly cheap to buy. So taking in maybe about 5 grams every day if you're male, or 3 grams if you're female, is usually enough. Now, a lot of supplement companies recommend a loading phase where you take double that amount for the first week or two to help load the cells faster. However, this isn't really necessary, as you can stick to the doses I've mentioned, and usually after the first month of taking it, your cells will be fully saturated with water, and that's when you'll begin to notice it works best. So as a side note to that, you likely won't notice the improvements in your performance straight off the bat until you give that initial time for the water to be pulled under the cell, and then it'll begin to work its best. That fairly covers the 3 main supplements I wanted to talk about that have proven benefits to assist you in your performance and fitness related goals. So next I'm going to be discussing a few supplements that are kind of debatable on their credibility in terms of their benefits and effectiveness as supplements, and why you maybe shouldn't be spending your money on these. So that said, if you use any of these supplements and you feel they work for you, you don't necessarily have to listen to me or what I'm saying. I'm simply just going over what studies have said of these supplements, and you can decide from there on yourself if you'd like to stick with these supplements or not. So the first ones are BCAAs, or your branched chain amino acids. So what these are the 3 main amino acids that help with muscle maintenance and growth. So they are leucine, isoleucine and valine, and the reason I believe this supplement has rose to prominence, say, in being one of the more popular supplements on the market is because people see that it says, it'll help with muscle growth and maintenance, and they figure they may as well throw it in as a supplement to their supplement stack if it's going to help them grow muscle faster and better. However, if you read further into it, the studies actually conducted on the supplements show that if a person is protein deficient, or they don't get a lot of protein in regularly, supplementing BCAAs can help there with maintaining the muscle the person has. So this might be helpful, say, if you're struggling with your protein intake, really struggling with it, and perhaps even someone who's on a vegan or vegetarian diet, it might be helpful for. However, for most people keeping on top of their protein intake, there isn't a whole pile of research showing that BCAAs are effective for them, because once you're getting in a decent amount of good quality proteins in every day, supplementing extra amino acids is going to have little to no effect on that, so they're going to be kind of fairly useless. But if you're keeping on top of your protein intake, you don't really need to be taking BCAAs, and it's probably not worth buying. And the next one after that is apple cider vinegar. So it's a fairly popular one. You probably heard of apple cider vinegar before, the benefits of it. It's a fairly trending one in like health stores and all that, but there is some benefits to apple cider vinegar, but there's no real hard evidence or consistent evidence that shows that this supplement does all it says it does. Like there's some studies saying that apple cider vinegar helps with fat loss and weight loss. However, it's worth mentioning that these studies showed no direct effect on fat and weight loss itself, but rather because it was so bitter and acidic product. A big reason why people relate it to fat loss is because it causes kind of an upset stomach, in that you naturally you'll want to eat less because of that. So it's not necessarily a wonder supplement if it just causes an upset stomach, which is obviously going to lead to you eating less. So overall, I wouldn't really recommend this supplement, and I don't recommend it as a supplement with any of my clients. And unless there's hard evidence proving its benefits, I really don't see the supplement being worth your money either. And the next supplement after that I want to cover is pre-workout. So pre-workouts are usually a mix of stimulants, which is mainly caffeine, along with things to help your performance and recovery like beta-alanine and citrulline malate and other supplements. And that's kind of designed to give you that kick of energy before and throughout training. And then a lot of people who maybe train in the mornings or after work or whenever they need that little extra kick, you use pre-workout. However, from my experience with pre-workouts, I really don't see them being any more than a glorified caffeine supplement. The reason I say this is because most pre-workouts have about 150 to 300 milligrams of caffeine per serving. So putting that into perspective, that's about 2, 3, maybe 4 cups of coffee per serving. And thinking of the caffeine kick alone you'll feel from this, that's really more of an energy kick than anyone will need. So thinking of all that extra ingredients added into the pre-workout on top of that aren't going to make a huge difference, as you're already fairly wired off the caffeine at that stage. So what I would say is you can still get as much benefit from just having coffee or supplementing caffeine alone before your workouts instead of pre-workout, and you'll not only be saving money, but you'll also won't be shocking your central nervous system with a huge flow of caffeine and other ingredients. Like you probably can't even pronounce half the ingredients on the pre-workout, and it's just, there's no need to be putting that into your body when you don't need to be. So in my opinion, pre-workout isn't really worth the money you pay for it. However, if you feel it works for you and you swear by it, by all means continue taking it. Just one piece of advice I will say is not to take it too close to your bedtime, as caffeine has a half-life of about 6 to 9 hours, and especially in such high dose that is in pre-workout, it can cause issues with your sleep and sleep quality. So definitely watch out for that, taking it too close to bedtime. And that pretty much covers all the ones that I wanted to cover on the 3 main ones for performance and the ones to avoid. And then I'll just go into some health related supplements. So the first lot of supplements kind of was talking about there are primarily related to improving your fitness and your performance. So now I'm just going to touch briefly on some health related supplements that focus on the vitamins and minerals, and these are kind of health related in that these supplements don't so much complement your fitness performance, although they can certainly contribute towards it, but more so these focus on the maintenance of your health and normally bodily functions and processes. And so the first one I want to talk about is vitamin D. So you probably already know that we already get vitamin D from the sun, but if you're from Ireland, like the majority of people listening to this, then you probably know we don't get a lot of that. So that's why I'm recommending this supplement, in that vitamin D is important for maintaining good health. Maintaining good health as it provides the resources necessary to support your immune system and bone health, along with promoting like cognitive function and brain health, and reducing the decline of your memory and brain function. So it's reducing the rate of that. And as I mentioned, this is probably useful if you're supplementing in a country like Ireland where you don't get a lot of sun, as it'll help compensate for that. And as for what brand, it doesn't really matter. You can get quite reasonably priced vitamin D supplements, and they're all pretty good, high quality. If you get them from MyProtein or iHerb.ie, they're fairly handy online stores and fairly reasonably priced, or you can get it in store like Holland and Barrett too. And the next supplement I'm recommending is vitamin C. So I recommend supplementing vitamin C too, as it's another one of those vitamins that are going to help in maintaining your health and your normal bodily functions and all that by supporting your immune system, and it also helps with maintaining good eye health, along with reducing the risk of cardiovascular diseases and some cancers. So again, it's just one of those supplements that can add to maintaining good health, and the reason I recommend it is because it's cheap and it's available, and that, if you obviously can maintain your good health, then definitely worth supplementing anything that can do that. So again, where to buy it, it can be MyProtein, iHerb.ie, or Holland and Barrett if you want to go in store. And the last supplement I'm going to recommend is your zinc and magnesium, or ZMAs. So zinc and magnesium, or ZMAs, with ZMAs being zinc and magnesium with vitamin B6 added in, are useful supplements as they promote good health through good sleep quality, and promoting recovery. So these vitamins and minerals work together, and they're both helping you fall into a deeper sleep, as magnesium kind of helps your body winding down when you take it before bed, and then zinc helps with speeding up the muscle recovery process. And then the benefits of course translate over into not only achieving a better quality of health obviously, but also your performance in terms of strength and stamina are also going to improve off the back of that. And in having your improved sleep and recovery. And I use the ZMA supplement, and I found it to have a big impact improving my my sleep quality. I'll notice if I've forgotten to take the supplement the night before, I won't get as good of a sleep, and the next day I'll usually wake up I'm kind of groggy and I won't feel as sharp or focused in comparison to the days I do take it. And as for where to get them, I get mine off of Amazon. I'll leave a link in the show notes to the ones I get, but once again, you can get them off My Protein, iHerb, Holland and Barrett, or whatever suits you best. So if you're struggling with recovery or achieving a better sleep quality, I definitely recommend looking into zinc and magnesium or ZMA supplements. And yeah, no, that pretty much covers all I wanted to say on supplements. Now, there was a few more supplements that I was thinking about mentioning. However, since supplements can be such a tricky topic and I don't know the exact science behind other ones, I didn't want to cover any ones that I haven't tried myself or ones I haven't, tried and didn't notice an improvement from in terms of health or performance. So the ones I've covered here are fairly backed by science, fairly solidly backed by studies and have proven benefits. And the ones that are worth spending your money on are these ones. So if they appeal to you, definitely look into them and they're worth trying. So I'll leave a few links to articles and studies in the podcast notes, and you can look into them yourself to see the science behind them. And with all that said, you hopefully have a better idea about supplements and if any of them could be for you. And I'll leave it there and catch you next Wednesday for another podcast. Thanks for listening.